morning, everyone. It's 10 a.m. and I think we'll give people just another minute or two to join us, and then we'll get started. So we'll just hang out for a minute or two more. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to All About MiCorps. This is a meeting, so we can see you and potentially hear you, just to give you a heads up. I'm Melissa Desimone, the Executive Director of Michigan Lakes and Streams Association. And we're really glad you joined us today to learn about the Michigan Clean Water Corps. I'm here to welcome you, do a little bit of housekeeping, and then we'll move on with the rest of the agenda that you can see on your screen. We'll do an overview, you'll get to meet the team, learn a little bit about Eagle and the stream and lake programs. So a couple of housekeeping items for you this morning. Like I said, this is a meeting format, so if your video is on, we can see you. If you would like your video to be turned off, you can do that by clicking on the stop video in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. We ask also that you please stay muted unless you're speaking, and you can stay muted also by clicking on the microphone in the lower left-hand part of your screen. This session is being recorded, so we will have this to share with people, or you can go back and take a look later. And as we go through the program, please feel free to type any questions you may have in the chat box. You'll find that along the bottom of your screen. And you can also use the raise hand feature to ask questions. You would click on reactions and then click raise hand, and then your hand will be raised and we can call on people that way as well. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Joe Lattimore.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us today to learn a bit about the Michigan Clean Water Corps, or MiCorps. Now, this has been a program that's been going on for quite some time, but we're kind of resurrecting it a little bit here, so we wanted to give a background. My name is Joe Lattimore, as Melissa mentioned. I am a faculty member at Michigan State University in the Department of Fisheries and Wildlife, and I've been involved with the MiCorps program since it began quite a few years ago now. And so I've played a number of roles in the program, from providing leadership to our stream monitoring program, to providing technical support to the Cooperative Lakes Monitoring Program, and now kind of leading the administration of the program. So we have, those of you who are familiar with the Cooperative Lakes Monitoring Program might know that we took a year off last year in 2020. Unlike a lot of other things that took a year off in 2020, it wasn't due to the pandemic, but instead it was due to a gap in the funding that was supporting MiCorps. But we're excited to share that the funding has been found again. We have a 5-year contract now for this program that is housed with the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, or EAGLE, and is now being administered through a contract to MSU. And then we have excellent ongoing partnership with Michigan Lakes and Streams Association and the Huron River Watershed Council to do all the different things, all the jobs and responsibilities that come with running a statewide program for lake and stream monitoring. MiCorps is actually made up of 3 key programs. The Cooperative Lakes Monitoring Program, which many of you may be familiar with already. We also have the Volunteer Stream Monitoring Program that you'll hear a bit more about. And then finally, we have a Volunteer Stream Cleanup Program. And you're going to hear in more detail about all of those programs in a minute. But a couple things to keep in mind is that those 2 monitoring programs involving volunteers, members of the public, and collecting data about our lakes and streams, they really contribute more data about our lakes and streams here in Michigan than any other program out there. So we have something to be proud of with that. It's a really important source of data and information about the health of our lakes and streams. And because these are long-term monitoring programs, they provide a long-term record of changes and trends of improvement or degradation that we can keep an eye on, and we can really involve local folks in collecting that data and interpreting it and using it to help protect their local waterways. So we're excited to be able to continue to offer that program. And because I mentioned there are so many different people involved with behind the scenes and right out in front of you for MiCorps, we wanted to take a minute to introduce ourselves, the entire MiCorps team. I already introduced myself, so then I'm going to go on to the other folks affiliated with Michigan State, starting with Eric Elgen. Eric, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Elgen. I'm a aquatic ecologist and water resources educator with MSU Extension. I'm statewide, but Extension has offices all over the state, and I'm on the west side of the state in Newaygo County, just north of Grand Rapids. So my responsibilities are fairly broad, and it's about the protection and conservation of our inland lakes. So I work on various fronts on that, from natural shorelines. I'm the vice chair, I think that's my title, of the Michigan Natural Shoreline Partnership. I was also the past president to the Michigan chapter of the North American Lake Management Society. And I love aquatic plants. That's probably going to come out as you get, if you're part of the CLMP, you'll learn that about me. Hopefully I will, give off that love to all of you as well, because they're pretty neat. So yeah, and my background is broad. I'm from Minnesota originally. I've been in the state now for around 5 years. I did my undergrad was in natural resources management from University of Minnesota, and then my master's in aquatic ecology was at the University of Calgary in Alberta, Canada. And a lot of times focusing around aquatic plants and lake ecosystems was a lot of my focus.
Great, thanks, Eric. Moving on through our MSU team, I'd like to introduce Erin Bunting next. Erin, if you could say a couple of words.
Yeah, hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Erin Bunting. I am director for one of our research groups on campus called Remote Sensing and GIS Research and Outreach Services. I'm joined on the call by one of our lead developers, Christian Matsukis, and we have been coming on to the MiCorps project new this year. This is our first year of taking part, and we are tasked with doing a lot of different geovisualizations and working on the database and looking at the data side of things and adding some new functionality in that regard. We're also currently working on the new CLMP enrollment, which you'll hear more about, I'm sure, throughout the rest of the day, and some other aspects of the website.
Thanks, Erin. And Christian, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, hi. As Aaron stated, my name is Christian Matsukis. I am an application developer with RS and GIS. I'm currently working on the enrollment part of the website and hoping to make the registering new lakes and enrolling them very streamlined and user-friendly for you guys.
Thanks, Christian. Now I'm going to move on to our folks here at MLSA. Jean Roth, could you introduce yourself?
As soon as I unmute myself, I can. My name is Jean Roth. One of the things I've been is a lake monitor since the 90s. We live on a small lake in Iosco County, and I've been volunteering at the northern office for Michigan Lake and Stream since the 90s, and that's how I got involved with what I'm doing now. I became the administrator for CLMP for MLSA in 2009. And my responsibilities are making sure all the volunteers have the supplies they need for all the different perimeters, help them with any problems they may have. And if I can't help them, I can find someone who can. That's my basic job.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jean. Melissa, do you want to talk a bit about your role with MiCorps?
Sure. So I'm Melissa Desimone. I'm the executive director of Michigan Lakes and Streams Association. So I do a lot of the background, and I do try to make sure to market the program on behalf of MiCorps, helping out getting the word out there about training days and the program in general, and recruiting new lakes to join us as well. So I have a kind of a background role in this. Jean is really our front man in the MLSA band as far as it comes to to MiCorps, but we're really happy to back her up. So we're really glad to have you all here today. And if you're not already familiar with Michigan Lakes and Streams Association, you can check out our website, mymlsa.org, for some more information. Thanks.
Thanks, Melissa. Mike Gallagher.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Mike Gallagher. I'm also with Michigan Lakes and Streams Association. I'm on that board, and I serve as a treasurer of the Michigan Lakes and Streams Association. So in that capacity, I end up writing the checks for some of the things that happen with the MiCorps program. I'm also a long-term volunteer and have monitored the lake that I live on for 10 or 12 years and have enjoyed every minute of it, and sharing the data with the people that live on the lake and the townships that are around our lake. For those of you, just got to throw in one tip or pitch, for those of you who are doing dissolved oxygen this year, I'll get to meet you because I'm going to deliver your dissolved oxygen meter to you. Just for sure, if you register. If you don't register in time, then I can't get the meter to you, and you'll have to arrange to do that on your own. But I look forward to meeting you.
Yeah, and I know when Eric talks about the CLMP in a little bit, he'll talk a bit about that enrollment process that we hope to have available to you soon. I also mentioned another key organization in MiCorps is the Huron River Watershed Council, in particular, Dr. Paul Steen. Paul, can you introduce yourself?
Yep. Hi, everyone. My name is Paul Steen. I'm an aquatic ecologist with the Huron River Watershed Council. We're a nonprofit based in Ann Arbor, taking care of the water quality of the Huron River in a 4-county area. But through MiCorps, we get the chance to spread our wings a little bit and talk to people around the entire state of Michigan. So my role in MiCorps is the lead on stream monitoring and the stream cleanup grants, which I'll talk about in detail later on. But the main thing with the monitoring programs is checking streams for macroinvertebrates, which are insects and crustaceans. And I love macroinvertebrates more than Eric loves plants. And hopefully I can prove that to you. So they're fun little things and they're great to monitor. So that's it for me.
Thanks, Paul. And then finally, I'm excited to introduce the newest member of our MiCorps team, Tamara Lipsi from Eagle. And she has a few slides she wants to share. So we're going to get those up for her here real quick. But Tamara, you can start chatting at any time.
Hello, everyone. As Joe said, my name is Tamara Lipsi, and I am taking over for Marcy Noel-Wilmus, who many of you probably knew. So first, I want to start off with just passing on a message from Marcy. She wanted to let you all know how much she enjoyed interacting with you over the past 6 years, and she really values those relationships that she built. And she's excited to see all of the work that's going to be completed through this new contract. I still work with Marcy. She got a promotion, so she hasn't gone anywhere. And I've worked with her as long as she's been with our section. And so we have a great working relationship, and she's teaching me all of what she knows, and it's going to be a pretty seamless transition, I hope. I have some slides because I wanted to take a little time to tell you some things about me since I'm brand new. And I know in a normal year, I'd probably maybe meet some of you face to face at either the annual meeting or the CLMP training. And since we can't do that, I thought I'd take this time to take some time to do that. So I've pretty much worked for Eagle my entire postgraduate career. It's been about 18 years. In April, it'll be 18 years exactly. I just really enjoyed my job, and it's a good fit for me. I get to work with plants and macroinvertebrates and fish, so it's just a really good fit, and I really enjoy it. I did work for Michigan Natural Features Inventory for a short time as a technician, working primarily on mussel surveys, freshwater mussel surveys, some lake sampling, and honing in my macroinvertebrate identification skills. I went to Grand Ledge Public Schools where I grew up, and then for my undergrad I went to both Lansing Community College and Michigan State University, where I majored in fisheries and wildlife. And then following that, I really wanted to see another part of the country, so I decided to go out west to the University of Wyoming, where I studied warm water fish species in plains, the Great Plains out there. And then we came back to Michigan, and if you get the next slide, Joe. These are some photos of my family. We live in Grand Ledge again, but during the warm weather months, we get out as much as we can on all of our freshwater streams and lakes and rivers. The bottom left hand is my son Mason playing on a beach at my mom's lake, which she lives in on McCoy Lake near Leroy, if any of you know of that area. Next slide. So as an aquatic biologist at Eagle, I am in what's called the Lake Michigan unit, which means I'm the lead biologist for several watersheds that flow to Lake Michigan. And I'm sure I've met some of you maybe with my involvement in the Platte and Betsy River watersheds or the Manistee River watershed. And this coming summer, I'm sampling the Pawpaw River watershed. I typically do a lot of aquatic insect monitoring, like Paul was mentioning, and I do that to determine water quality. But I actually get to collect fish species sometimes. I do lake monitoring just like all of you do. And then the bottom left, I also participate in early detection of aquatic invasive plants in our lakes, and I am on the snorkeling team to do that. I've been using MiCorps data for all of my career at Eagle. I use the CLMP data to answer questions for the public about lake water quality. Maybe they're buying some property on a lake and want to know about the lake itself, or they're new to the area and want some water quality data. I've used the macroinvertebrate data to help plan what sites I'm going to sample, like the upcoming sites in the Pawpaw River watershed. If I see a site that isn't scoring well, I'll go and check it out and see if we can determine what's going on. I've also used the MiCorps data to help provide information for permit recommendations for other parts of our department or of our division, because sometimes we don't have information on a stream ourselves. So we'll look at the volunteer data and see if we can get any information from there. So I'm really looking forward to working more closely with all of you to collect this most important information. And since I work with all of the other biologists, I can be a connection for you with those biologists. All of our biologists for the entire state are in our Lansing office. And so I can connect you with any one of them, no matter where you are in the state. And also, if you have permitting questions, I know a lot of you are obviously lakeshore or river shore property owners. I can get you in contact with the right district staff to help you with permit questions you might have. And the next slide, Joe. One of my roles for the MiCorps program is that I'm the dissolved oxygen meter contact. So I've been busy in my dining room, cleaning them up and calibrating them all so that you can use them hopefully with no troubles this summer. And we received a few new ones, and this is one of my cats enjoying the boxes immensely. Been doing it at home because we have some limitations due to COVID about how long we can be in the state office building. So I've been doing this at home. So if you have any questions about the dissolved oxygen meters or how they work, or maybe what the results are telling you, you can contact me. And the next slide, Joe. So please feel free to reach out to me with questions at any time regarding the program. And I can't emphasize enough how much this program is made possible by the volunteers. And I so thank you for your involvement and your interest in water quality and your dedication to improving that water quality.
Thanks so much, Tamara.
Yep.
All right, so moving on here then, I'm going to move it over to Paul. He's going to tell us a little bit more about the stream programs in MiCorps.
Yes, thank you. So the stream programs, there's two of them, and I'll first talk about the Volunteer Stream Monitoring Program, or VSMP. Try not to use too many initials, but sometimes they slip out, so it's good to define them ahead of time. The Volunteer Stream Monitoring Program focuses on volunteers going out and searching creeks and rivers for macroinvertebrates, insects and water insects and crustaceans primarily, along with an analysis of the stream habitat. Now, this is primarily done through partnerships with organizations that already exist. And the way this partnership works is MiCorps provides grants to nonprofits, watershed councils primarily, local governments can get these grants. Conservation districts, the county conservation districts are really key in starting macroinvertebrate monitoring programs. And then those groups find their own volunteers and we train them. We, as in MiCorps, trains these groups who then train their own volunteers. So it's, in a way, it's you can think of it as a train the trainer program, where we're helping leaders train their own volunteers. Now, the key of the whole thing, of course, is that we're all following the same procedures. So the data is standardized across the state, no matter which group you go to, the procedures should more or less be the same. So you know that when you use the data, you can consider one group the same as another. So please advance, Joe. Now, no matter where you are in Michigan, you're not too far away from one of these groups that has trained with us and is leading volunteers to collect water insects. So If this is the kind of thing that you think you might be interested in volunteering with, any of these organizations listed here are ones that currently have a up-to-date quality assurance plan and are considered full partners with MiCorps. So really anywhere in the Lower Peninsula that you may live, you're probably not too far away from one of these groups and that you could volunteer with them. These groups always need new people to learn how to get in the rivers with a net and pull out these macroinvertebrates. Certainly there's some gaps here, and we do have some groups in the Upper Peninsula, but none that are current on their procedures with MiCorps. Some of these groups still monitor and you can still volunteer for them. Groups like the Yellow Dog, and there's the Marquette Conservation District. So there are a variety of groups, even if they're not on this map, that may exist that we have partnered with in the past. So if you're the head of a nonprofit that might be interested in starting your own monitoring, these grants that we release are released in January. So you just missed the window for that, but consider it for next year. And I'll say in a little bit where you can find information about those grants. Okay, next slide, please. The other stream piece of MiCorps is the stream cleanup program. So this is a program that concentrates on picking out trash out of rivers and creeks. It does not target lakes. It's very specific to rivers and creeks and flowing water. Though if you are a lakes volunteer, one way you can get involved is try to host one of these cleanups, maybe in the channel that flows into your lake would be a good example, or flows out of your lake. So the way you get involved in this program is once again through grants. About $25,000 is made available each year for these grants. Applicants can get between $500 and $5,000 total for their grant, and then it's $25,000 across the whole state. The trick with this is that these grants are only available for local governments. So townships, cities, counties, those are the groups that actually need to apply and get the money. So as a volunteer, where do you come in? Sometimes your local governments may need a little encouragement to apply for the money. So you can use your contacts, go down to the township office and show your interest in working on something like this. And if they know that there's volunteers out there who want to participate, local governments will be a lot more likely to look into it and apply for the money. The money doesn't pay for staffing, but what it can do is pay for canoe rentals, and it can pay for dumpster rentals. It can pay for trash bags, different pieces of equipment that the volunteers will need to actually get in and pick up the trash and have it taken care of. So this program has a long history. It's been running for at least 20 years now, I think, 15 to 20 years. And we've had local governments across the state pulling tires out and bikes and just really interesting things, combined with more plastic than could possibly be counted. So it's a really good program for getting streams cleaned up. Now, for both the stream monitoring program and the cleanup program, this is the website that you can go to find out more information about when the grants are released and how to apply. I think that's my last slide, Joe. Can you? Oh, okay, this is kind of this just helps understand how the stream is different than the lakes program. This is for our stream programs, we primarily work with those nonprofits and local governments directly. And then they will have their own volunteers. Now I'm setting this up a little bit for Eric, who's going to go next. That structure differs than the Cooperative Lakes Monitoring Program, where our group, the ones you're looking at right now, we're the ones that work directly with lake, primarily lake residents and getting the monitoring done. So because the two things are structured differently, the money that we have to make these programs work gets structured differently. So the stream monitoring programs are more grant-based. The lake monitoring programs are more staffing based. A lot of the money pays for us to help you get the work done. So I just wanted to clarify that, because sometimes lake residents may feel that's not fair, that stream groups get grants and they don't. But the idea is that the money is just spent in different ways. But it's really about an equal split between the two in terms of how much financial support comes from the state in each of these two different types of monitoring programs. So I wanted to clarify that and set up Eric for as he starts talking about the lake program. And Eric is up next.
Thanks so much, Paul, for that great overview of two major programs in MiCorps. And I want to remember, folks, if you have questions, you're welcome to type those into the chat as we go along. But for now, I think I'll hand it over to Eric to talk a little bit about the Cooperative Lakes Monitoring Program.
Thank you very much. And thanks, Paul, for setting me up. If you love lakes, the CLMP is for you. This is as Paul set up, this is our volunteer program where we kind of collect the pulse and baseline data for your particular lake. So CLMP has been around in some shape or form for quite some time, since 1974. And on the right, this is a map of actually all of the lakes that have ever collected data for the CLMP. And that counts to over 1,000 lakes, which is spectacular. Now, usually we have on a given year around 300 lakes volunteer, but hopefully over this next 5-year contract, we can increase that considerably. Or that's my hope. So the CLMP is a volunteer program that it's a cost-effective, I say, framework that gives reliable long-term baseline data. And what I mean by reliable is that we have protocols and QA/QC protocols that make sure that the data is scientifically valid. And then we're here to help that along as well. And this data is great because it helps with the understanding of the lake that you're collecting that data on. And it also helps just with the management. So does something need to happen? Or if management is happening, here's reliable data that can tell you, is it getting better, or is it staying the same, or is it getting worse? A great part of this program is our online database. I've worked with many lakes around the state that haven't been associated with the CLMP, and they've had lake consultants collect water quality data, for example, on their lake for many years, but that data might be in a paper in many people's desks. And so now when we try to look at the long-term trend of the lake, which we need to really know what's going on, it becomes very difficult. And so this database is a great part of our program because everything is online through the years, everything's up there. You can look at just your lake, you can pull information from lakes around you or from the whole state. So that's a great part of our program. And of course, training opportunities. There's all of us here right now who are always willing to chat with you, but then also have more formal training parts where we work with MLSA typically in the spring to offer our full program training, which we'll be doing. I can't believe I didn't put this on the slide. On April 29th, we have our training the day before the MLSA online conference. And our training is totally virtual as well. So you can go to the MiCorps, so MiCorps.net website to register. So it's free, but we need to register so we have a sense of who's all coming. And then also we have a MiCorps conference, and that's where we blend in stuff with lakes and streams where you can learn a lot more about our water resources. So how do you collect the pulse of your lake or understand the health of your lake or what's going on? We have a variety of parameters that you can choose from. So here's the list of parameters that you can monitor on your lake. Water clarity is measured by a Secchi disc. So that's just a disc that's dropped in the water, and you can learn a lot from changes in clarity. Phosphorus is important because that's the main nutrient that's driving plant growth and algae growth in your lake. Chlorophyll A is a pigment that is a proxy for algae. So we have an understanding of through time how much algae is in your water body. Dissolved oxygen is important for the biota, the organisms living in your lake, but it's also important for the chemistry of your lake. I won't go into that too much detail, but it's important for phosphorus. Temperature is important as well, so we know if your lake is mixing all the time or is stratified. Aquatic plants, of course, according to me, are really important. No, but they are important. The native plants are important, so we have a parameter that looks at the native plant community, and then we also have an early detection program for invasive plants as well. And key to the functioning of our lakes is also the land surrounding our lakes. And so we have a shoreline survey as well that you can conduct called Score the Shore. And the next couple slides, I just wanted to show some, I'll say kind of random highlights because there's tons of highlights to give, but I'll just show a couple slides on what the data can show. So here, for example, is monitoring is water clarity through a particular season. So you collect data multiple times through a season so you can understand what's happening in a particular year. So as you can see, this graph is flipped upside down. So I just wanted to indicate, I have this on a couple slides next. Is see this, there's a person fishing in this boat, that's indicating the surface of the water. And then depth goes down. And so imagine you're dropping a disc in the water, and this is as far down as you can see. So around 13 feet deep in June, for example. So you can see, what's going on in the arc of the change of a growing season. So May, this particular lake in CLMP had really great water clarity, seeing down almost to 18 feet. Whereas July and August, due to algal blooms and boat traffic, the water clarity was quite low, and you were losing it at 5 feet. So that can help you understand what's going on. But now how about historical trends? So this is great, the power of the CLMP through time. So we can see in the 70s, they were collecting data, in the 80s sporadically, and you could see that the water clarity the Secchi disc was disappearing like around 3 feet. So that is a very cloudy lake. But then as the years went on, something changed and you were getting water clarity above 15 feet. And so I put these terms out here, which if you sign up for the CLMP, you can learn more. But eutrophic, mesotrophic, and oligotrophic. Eutrophic are lakes with an abundance of algae and plant life, and oligotrophic are less algae and low aquatic plant life. And water clarity can indicate where you are in that spectrum. And so in the 70s, this lake was eutrophic, and actually in some cases probably hypereutrophic, so very green. But then they did some management, and you can measure the improvement, which is pretty neat. Dissolved oxygen is great. So here's an example. Again, our fisherman is sitting at the top of our lake, and the red is dissolved oxygen. And I've made this bar right here because if you like fishing, dissolved oxygen and temperature are a great parameter to look at, in that we find that on this particular lake, low down in the water column, around 52 feet, the water goes below, becomes hypoxic, meaning it stresses many of the fish because there's not enough oxygen present in that water body. So that's kind of neat to see and to understand, why am I not catching walleye in the deep parts of my lake during summer? And of course, the early detection of invasive plants can be really important. We had a great thing where I think 2018, I have it written, 2018, over 10 lakes in Oakland County found starry stonewort for the first time in their lake using our exotic aquatic plant watch, our early detection program. So those are just a few snapshots or some highlights of what CLMP data can show you, and the value of that 1 year of data, but then also multiple years of data. So usually we have enrollment for our lakes starting the year prior, but Joe set it up perfectly. We were getting a new contract and a new program and also a new system to enroll our lakes. And so we are making everything online this year, which will hopefully be streamlined thanks to Christian and Erin. And this is just a simple screenshot where we are going to do all enrollment online. You will create an account, much like what you do for many different online shopping programs. And once you have that account, you can go in and enroll your lake, and there'll be really neat systems where you can choose your lake via map or other means, and hopefully make everything nice and simple. We don't have enrollment open quite yet, but very soon. If you go to MiCorps.net, you can sign up for our listserv. And once you sign up for our listserv, you will get notified immediately the day of when enrollment opens. And hot off the presses, this happened just yesterday, is MiCorps is now on Facebook. And so check us out. That would be great. So you can keep up to date with different happenings with both the CLMP, but then also our stream programs as well. So thank you very much. There's a whole team of us on the CLMP. So there's our contacts. Feel free to give us a call or give us an email. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Eric. Melissa, have we had any questions come in on the chat while we've been presenting?
We did have one question, and it was for Paul. Do you know if do you know of any entity connected with the Raisin River that has participated in either of the stream programs?
Yes, yes and no. So the Raisin River Watershed Council is an organization that exists, though I am not sure as to their current status. They did macrovertebrate monitoring certainly 10 years ago, but I know they've had budget issues over time. So as to whether they're doing it at this moment or not, I am unsure. But that would be something that whoever asked that question could I think could find pretty easily by searching the River Raisin Watershed Council online.
All right, great. That was our only question in the chat, but we certainly have some time for questions. There's one more that came up in the chat. Can we find out who covers Kent County?
And that probably for the stream program again. So Kent County, the Grand River watershed, there's a couple of good options coming up. There is a church in Granville called Trinity Christian Reformed Church. It's the one church that's involved in our program, and they do monitoring on Rush Creek. Now for the Grand itself, there's a couple of applicants this year who want to start monitoring for the for macroinvertebrates in the Grand. There's an organization called Elgro, I believe. They applied for a grant. We can't say if they got the grant or not yet, but they will, whether they get the grant or not with us, they probably will do macroinvertebrate monitoring. So that could be an option for Kent County.
Okay, great. All right, so Dave was asking when do we turn in our total phosphorus? Now, we have a pretty intimate group here. So if anyone has a question that they would like to speak up about, we'd be happy to have like a conversation as well.
Okay. Hi, I'm Dave
Hi.
Wilson. I do the monitoring on Seymour Lake in northern Oakland County. And ice out for us was March 12th. And so we got out there right away and did our total phosphorus water sample. I've got it in my freezer now. I was just wondering, is it after we turn it in, I assume after the April 29th, now that I know that that's when all the registering and so forth is going to happen for CLMP. I assume that's what we're doing. I'm going to hold on to it till then.
Yeah, so we had to do, just due to when our enrollment opened, of course, everything got kind of shifted around for spring total phosphorus. And also due to COVID-19, we were still figuring out our drop-off locations that we typically have had in the past. And so we were working that out. Tamara has worked with and communicated with all of our drop-off locations. And yes, it looks like it'll be the same for you as you've done in past years, it sounds like.
Yeah, obviously we didn't do last year because
Yep.
of COVID, but yeah, so we've done it in past years, and I've turned it off. I've driven it all the way down to Warren, and I've turned it in at the Oakland County Courthouse as well. So I'm hoping it's going to be Oakland County again. That's a lot easier for me.
I think it'll be
I see
Warren.
Joe shaking his head.
Yes, it'll be
Yeah,
Warren. Yeah, that
Warren's a
Oakland
haul,
County
but
was when there was like an initiative that the county was doing, which was great in 2018, I believe is when that was.
yeah.
But yeah, so it'll we'll let you know, but it looks like it will be for you. It'll be Warren, and
Yeah.
it'll be June 22nd will be the drop off date.
Okay.
But stay tuned. We'll give you the final once we know for sure. But that's likely that's the date.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Yeah. We also have a question from Harold. It sounds like he may be interested in some monitoring. He says they have a small lake in northeastern Kent County. And his question is who, or he would like to know who might be in charge of that area. So that's the way the question was framed in the chat there.
Yeah, so maybe that's kind of what Paul was making that distinguishing between the two programs is that if for your small lake, if you know around that lake, if no one is volunteering to do it, you can be in charge, and you can sign up that lake. So if you don't know if it's signed up or not, first of all, you can contact Jean if that's one way, but also you can go on to to know if your lake has ever been signed up for the CLMP. You can go on to our MiCorps.net, and then on the top bar, go to data exchange, and you can look up your lake specifically by name. But feel free, if you can't find that, you can email Jean or contact Jean or myself, and we can confirm.
Harold is clarifying that it's actually his private lake. So yeah.
If no one signed up for it, it can be you. And we hope it is.
Okay, and then he also says that it flows into the Webassist Lake. But yeah, so I think if it's a separate lake, you can still do your own testing on it. So.
Yep.
All right. Are there any other questions about? Oh, Jean. Yes, go ahead, Jean.
Yeah, on private lakes, there should be at least 5 acres of water.
That's a good point.
And I'll also mention that Webassist Lake was in the program quite a few years ago. There's some records from the year 2000 and 2001, but primarily just 2000. So there's a short history on Webassist itself, but if I'm guessing your lake in 13 acres, it would fall within our definition of a lake. So you would definitely be eligible to join the program. So we hope you'll sign up for that training on April 29th to learn more about it.
And Harold, I hope your lake is far enough away from the PFAS groundwater issues there, because I know there's a few lakes impacted by PFAS in that part of Michigan.
All right. I'm not seeing any new questions coming in. Is there anyone else who would like to ask a question? You can just even unmute and we'd be happy to talk with you.
If I don't want to monopolize, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of outside people, so I'll give like a minute's overview, I guess, of where I think my wife and I kind of stand. This is Harold, by the way. We have a small lake on a property that we purchased about 10 years ago that has significant issues, I guess, with plant growth and nutrient values and so forth. We feed into Webassist Lake about a quarter of a mile away with the outflow from the dam. And I'm interested in all the help I can get in learning what I can do. I've watched the videos from past sessions, and it looks like there's a fairly sophisticated process that I'm not sure I can match and do all of this year, but I am very interested in getting started in the learning process. And one of the comments was made that if you can't do all of it, it may not be included. I guess I'm looking for any resources somebody wants to forward to help me make sure that I can either do all of them, or that we gather as much information with the equipment and things of that nature to help us make sure we can go forward in the future.
There are basic and advanced parameters. So you do have to be in the program more than 1 year to do some of them, like dissolved oxygen and Gene, is chlorophyll also?
Yes.
Yep. But it sounds like, so SekiDisc gets you a sense of, is a base parameter that's really good at just getting understanding of your water body. It sounds like it might be shallow. Is that correct?
Correct. The greatest depth is about 10 feet, and a lot of it's 6 or so.
Yeah, so your SekiDisc, so your water clarity might be touching the bottom. One other thing that would be of interest is the Exotic Aquatic Plant Watch. So that one you can do on its own. You don't need to do anything else. And that'll give you a sense of what, if those plants are invasive or not. So there's invasive species that are not native to Michigan, and then there's the native ones. And so that'll help you get an understanding of what your next steps can be. So that's one, and that would, if you're on that property in 13 acres, you can do that survey within a day.
Okay.
So that's what, if you can't do them all, that's, there's, I think, do what you can. And the plant watch, the Exotic Aquatic Plant Watch, it would be great if you're really concerned about your plants as a first step.
And then identifying the plants, I guess, is part of it. Now, if Webassist wasn't in the program recently, I guess, is there a potential, even though I'm not on Webassist, I'm a quarter of a mile, and that's the distance from my lake to the infeed on Webassist. Is it practical to try and add it if I do some of the work in that respect, or if you have to be in multiple years, get started this year, so maybe next year's information could be included?
Yeah, it's partially up to you, but yeah, you can do multiple lakes. And since that's your neighbor lake, where there's an obvious connection, and if you love that lake too, it'd be great. Yeah, if you can. Joe, you said there hasn't been any monitoring?
The last monitoring there was in 2001. So, I don't think you'd be stepping on anyone's toes if you wanted to jump in and start doing some data collection there as well.
Yeah, and what's key there is to balance, what you think you can do. So, you don't have to sign up for everything, but what you can do is valuable. Now, SekiDisc is a base parameter for the majority of our monitoring parameters. So, balance that out with what you think you can do.
Okay.
But yeah, that'd be great actually. And even if it's as simple as Secchi Disc for Webassist Lake for this first year, and then you get more and more comfortable with the program and moving forward, that would be a good first step.
And with the locations, if I remember right, for a lake that large, it definitely involves multiple testing sites, I'm guessing. Would the locations of the past information be of any value, or would somebody be established or have established, I guess, someplace that they'd like to do the monitoring through?
Yeah, it actually, your Secchi Disc will be happening at the deepest location within Webassist Lake. And the majority of parameters will be collected other than shoreline and plants. So it's at the deepest location, and I'm not looking at it right now, but I'm assuming there's just one sample location for Webassist. Yep, Joe gives a thumbs up.
Yep, just one spot. That's
Okay.
pretty typical. It's very rare to have more than one sampling location in a lake for water quality.
Okay.
And that's a standard way of collecting water clarity for the estimation of water quality of a lake is to sample at its deepest location.
Okay.
That's great. Welcome to the program. I hope you sign up.
We've signed up for the training. I just don't know how fast we'll learn all the things that we need to make it work for this year.
Well, we're here to help.
I'm really glad we had the time to address that with you, Harold. So
Yeah.
thanks for joining us today. Okay, so it seems that we have run through the questions and the program. And like I said, this will be recorded, so please feel free to share it around with other lakes that might be interested in the program as well. And do we have any last parting words before we adjourn today?
I'd just like to thank everybody for joining us today. We're so excited to get MiCorps back up and running at full speed and to have a full lake monitoring season this year. And even though we'll have to do training online instead of face-to-face like we normally would do it, we're sure that we're going to get a good turnout. In fact, we've already got well over 120 people signed up for that online training event. So a lot of folks are ready to get going and get back out on their lakes and back into their streams monitoring. So we really appreciate your attention today.
Yeah, so don't forget to join us for training on April 29th. And then additionally, if you're interested, the Michigan Lakes and Streams Association has our conference the following day, which is April 30th. And yeah, we are here for you. That's the bottom line. So hope everybody has a wonderful day.
We're here to answer any of your questions, so ask away.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.